Hello everyone. So today we will continue with the implementation of the live activity, and we will create a small class that will handle all the logic about the activity. And let's try to create this small class, and this will be activity manager, and let's also add it to our extension. And let's also import the activity kit that we need and also combine. You will see why. And basically we want to create this a small class to help us with the logic, and we are going to be using a singleton, so you can do it however you want. So this is just to show you like this quickest, the simplest way. And we will have a function that will trigger the activity. Let's call it start. We will have also another function to update the activity. So let's call it update activity randomly. And then we will need another function to end the activity. So we might have more than one activities, so let's create another one to cancel all the running activities. In this case we will be working just with one, but I will show you how to cancel all of them in a loop. So let's start with the implementation. So what we want to do here is well, trigger the first activity, but we also would like to end up another activity in case there's one more running. So I will create another function that we will call in the start. So let's call it start new live activity. We will have the actual logic of the start function here, and for that we will create our attributes, just an instance of our attributes, because this is required to create a new activity. I will show you why. So we will just pass values that will be shown in the first activity. So we need to create also an activity content state, and this is also required. And let me show you which one. So we have the content state. That's the content that it's going to be updated dynamically. We need to pass it to the activity content. So we will also pass some fixed values, but just for the sake of the creation of the activity. So this property stale date, we will pass it as nil. You can see the description. We won't use it now. We won't focus on that, and then we will try to create the activity. So the creation of the activity will return an optional value. So we will be using this optional try. We won't handle this with many error handling, let's say. So we will just try to unwrap this. So it's requiring the attributes. Those are the ones that we have in line 17, and we are also passing the content, the values that will be updated dynamically, and we want this activity to be updated with a token. That's why we have to send push type as token, and we unwrap the activity. There's no activity, there's no point in continuing. So now that we have created the activity, what we want to do is actually get information from that activity to be able to identify it. Which values we want to persist? Well, we will need first the activity ID. So each activity comes with an activity ID, and we will persist this value in this class. So let me just create a property here. It's going to be private, and it's of type string, and we also need a token. This token is the one that you will share with your backend in case you want to update the activity with push notifications. So first we will save the activity ID, and since we are using await, we need to make this function async. Then we need to also persist the token. So we will use the activity, we will get information from that activity using the push token updates property, and then we will get the token. So I'm gonna save this token in this for loop, and I will print it just for you to see it. So this is the token that you will in a real scenario share with your backend or with your push notifications provider. And in this case we will only save it here because we will use this class to make use of it. So let's save it here. Push we want to save the token that we have created in line 35. Okay, so our activity token will be this token that we got from the push token updates. So let's write just a warning for you to know that, okay, if you want to update this live activity remotely, you need to share this token. Then we would like to update the activity, right? We will do it locally. And first we need to identify our activity, and how we can do that, we need to make use of the activity ID. This is the identifier of the activity. Since we can have many activities, we need to tell, let's say we need to make use of the type of the structure that we are using. So we have this activity value, we have this activity, it's generic property, but in this case we want to get the running activity of this type. If there's more than one, we want to get only the one that has this activity ID. So we loop through them, but we get the first one in which the activity ID is matching with the one that we saved. This is just in case we have more than one. If we are not able to get any activity, then we can just stop this execution, because there's no point in continuing, since we want to update something, right? If we don't know what to update, we can just stop the execution, and then we will create random information to update the activity. If you remember, we need to create a content state. This is the dynamic information. So we will change this dynamically and also randomly. So we will creating values, in this case from 0 to 5, and since we have this time left and property, we will try to simulate time changing. So we will create random minutes and also random seconds. So we are using this random function inside the integer struct. So there's an error here. Okay, this shouldn't be part of this. I think there's a parenthesis missing. Okay. Then we have the dynamic content created, and then we want this activity to be updated using the new content state. Okay, so we will use this function, and you need to pass the latest content. Okay, so I will show you where we need to change this. If you remember, in our live activity we have everything just hard-coded with fixed values, but we have our UI inside the activity configuration, and let me just try to finish this, and then I will show you where we can update this. So if we want to end the activity, we need to also identify which activity we want to finish. So we will just copy paste this first guard statement. Once we have identified the activity, we can just end that up. So the running activity, we want it to end, and for some reason, I'm not sure why, you need to pass also content. So let's just copy paste the one that we created before. So let's copy paste this and send fixed values there. And we need to also send a policy to end this activity, which in this case we will send immediately, because we want this to be end after we click a button that we will create after. So this is requiring an activity content and then a state. So here we will pass the initial state, and we are not focusing on this stale date, so we will just pass distant future. And here in this policy we will tell the activity, okay, I want you to be finished immediately. So this function is pretty much finished, except for the values that we have persisted before. So once we create the activity, we have saved the ID and the token in our singleton. So once we finish the activity, we want to clean this up. So we will set nil to the ID and also to the token. Now, let's say we have more than one activity running. So what we need to do is to basically stop all of them. We can just loop through the running activities of this type. We can have different types, but in this case we are focusing on the ones that have this structure, which is Duolingo live activity attributes. And then again, somehow we need to pass the initial state. So let's just reuse the same. Well, let's create another one with just fixed values. And this is not important since we are actually finishing the activity, but this is still required. I'm not sure why. So we want all of them to be ended, and since we are using await, let's make this function async. And of course we need to clean that up again. We need to clean those values, and we are almost done with this class, except for the entry point. So what will happen when we try to start the activity? Well, we would like to end all the activities in case there's other activity running, and then we need to call our private function. So we end activities, we end the activity if there's any, and then we will start a new one. Okay, so this class is done. So let me try to explain to you what we need to change here. So we have this configuration and we have the UI inside, and we have created this using the Duolingo Live activity attributes. So this context, every time we created this activity configuration, we will receive a context. So this context, I will show you. This context contains, you see, this is of type Duolingo Live activity attributes. So that's why we can access to the content state inside. You see, if I click state, I can access the values in our structure. So if I move to the main structure, if you remember, we have the content state and we have also the fixed values. In this case, we will receive the content state. These are the values that we want to be updated in our live activity when we receive this fake push notification. So in this case, we want to change the exercises, and this is the update thing that we will update. So we are creating the content state, and we are receiving it here, and we want to also update the time. If you remember, we were creating time, so we have this label with fixed time, fixed minutes. So let me try to change this. So in this case, we don't want this to be fixed. We actually want to use the context state, and then the time left is the one that will be changed every time we update the live activity. So we need to then change our main application, because here is where we will trigger the live activities updates. This is where we will start creating the activity. So let me just create an instance of our singleton, and then let's remove this, and let's try to create just a very simple UI that will help us to either start a new activity or cancel the activity. So I will also add a couple of labels to show the activity ID and the activity token that are being created. So let's create a simple VStack with some labels inside. So first we want to show the activity ID, just for you to see the creation of the activity ID. That is happening on the background after we start the activity. So we have the activity ID, and we show the activity ID from the manager. If you remember, we have these two properties. If we don't have any, we just show this slash, this minus, and I will copy paste this, and then I will show the token. And then let's also create a couple of buttons that will help us to trigger or cancel the activity. So we will face two scenarios. So the first one is when we actually have information available, and the other one is the scenario when users launch the application. So if there is an activity ID already in our manager, this means that there's an activity running at the moment. So if this is the case, then we will create a couple of buttons. The first one is for us to update the activity. If there's an activity ID existing, okay, that means we can update it. So with this button we will update the activity, and we will also use the manager for that. If you remember, we created a function for that. So we have activity manager and then update activity randomly. Then let's just custom a little bit this button, and we can just select black. This is not important actually. In the frame, also not very important, but required. So then we will copy paste this code, because we will have also another button. So if there's an activity running, that means we are able to finish it. Okay, so let's just copy paste just finished this customization of the button and copy and paste this code for creating the second option, which is cancel the activity. So here we would like to stop the activity, and in this case we need to call the function the right way. Okay, in this case we have the cancel all running activities, and we can just change this. Then we need to also write the else case. So the else case is actually when users launch the app, there's no live activity. So in that case, we can create a button to trigger the start function. If you remember, we have the first function that we wrote was about starting the live activity. We can also just copy paste the code that we have. So in this case, this button will be used for starting the live activity. And then we will call the start, that if you remember, it will stop if there's any activity and then trigger an activity. And it seems that we have everything set up. I guess we can just try to run this and see how it looks. This is the less important part of the tutorial. I mean the content view or of our own application, but it's needed. It's needed, right? So let's try to run it. My simulator is a bit slow, but let's see if at least we don't lose too much time just waiting for it. Okay, it's running. Well, it's loading. Okay, so we have the labels set up correctly, but the button needs something. Okay, so we have the vstack, but actually we want all those buttons to be inside of the same vstack. Let's see if this fixes this button in the bottom of the screen. Okay. Okay, so everything is inside a vstack, but we can add maybe a padding in the inner vstack. So we add padding here, and let's just give one more try. Okay, so now we have the application running. We have the labels here, we have the token label here, of course empty, and I will show you that we don't have any activity running at the beginning, right? Until we trigger this start new live activity. So once we trigger the function, we will create an activity and we will show the ID and the token. So I'm gonna try to lock the screen, and you see we don't have any activity. Let me unlock the screen and then start live activity, and immediately we have the ID and the token. The token takes just like 1 second more, and if we lock the screen we have the activity there, which is showing this alert below asking if you want to allow our application to show. We say yes, and then the color, it's a bit weird. If you remember, we had a different design. So let's see, I think I'm gonna change this to dark mode since we were working with dark mode from the beginning. So it's a bit slow, my simulator, but I hope we can show everything running perfectly. So we go to developer and then switch to dark appearance. Let's see if we can see the right color. It seems like we are missing something on our design because letters are not very accessible, let's say. So let's go to our activity and let's try to change the background tint. So we have color.cyan. So this is the main problem. We need to change this. So let's quickly change this. I already have the color, so we were using the red, green, blue init of the color structure, so now I have created the right color, I hope. So let's run the application again. Okay, it's still running. Well, sorry about this delay, but it's very slow. My simulator is very slow. But let's just give it a try. I'm just trying to click and it's frozen. Actually, I'm clicking on my simulator, just trying to open the application manually, but it's frozen. Let's just try to run it again. Okay. You see, it says it's running, but it's not open. Let me just manually click the application. Okay. If it doesn't work, I have to kill the simulator. Let's just wait 2 more seconds. Oh, okay, there it is. So let's again start the live activity and then lock the screen. Boom, we have the right color. Great. We have 5 exercises, 27, 5 minutes, and 15 streak. I don't remember. Yeah, this was the streak, I guess. And then we are again asked if we allow this application to show live activities. We say yes. Then let's try to update the values. So if I click this, you see our dynamic properties are being updated. So maybe you don't see it in the video, but there's a smooth animation if you click the live activities button. We have this parenthesis shown. Let me try to remove. Oh, it's this one. Yeah. So there it is. If we click update, we actually see new values. I haven't run the application again because it's very slow, but you see the time was updated. So yeah, it's working. If I click stop, this is being cleaned, and if I lock the screen, there's no activity running. So yep, we we are done, and this is a very simple way to implement the live activity. There are many ways to do this, but I found this like the quickest and simplest way, and I hope you found this tutorial